What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. It's time for Upset Alert Week 6. And looking back at Week 5, had a much better week. So out of the 8 games, and if you're new to this, we pick 8 games each week where we think these games are the most likely games to be upsets, where the spread is 4 points or more. So the spread has to be 4 points or more for it to be considered an upset. We don't pick 8 upsets to actually happen, just the most likely upsets, the games where teams need to be on upset alert. So out of the 8 games, normally 2 or 3 of those turn out to be upsets. But the 2 previous weeks, I think we only hit like 1, and we missed some big upsets. So this past week, TCU, Oklahoma, that was on there. That one did happen. Illinois, Wisconsin was on there. That one did happen. That one cost Wisconsin their head coach. And then Wake Forest upset Florida State. All 3 of those games were on the video. I mentioned Purdue and Minnesota. I talked about that game. It didn't make it down to the final 8, but I had a feeling that Purdue might have a chance to pull off the upset there. But the one that I think everyone overlooked, I don't think anyone expected this one, was Pittsburgh being upset by Georgia Tech. That was a big surprise. So last week I talked about, again, a ton of potential upsets. This week is a little bit more challenging. I'm not seeing a lot of upsets. We're going to go through these 8 games, but I don't know if we'll get 3 again this week that actually happen. And again, maybe I miss one somewhere. Maybe there's an upset that I don't even put on the video like last week with Pittsburgh. So let's get right to it. From the least likely to the most likely, we start with Washington State USC. USC's favored by 13 points. This game will be on Fox in prime time, 7:30 Eastern time. Washington State's a good football team, and that's all it comes down to. Washington State is a good football team. They had Oregon on the ropes. We saw that game. This one is on the road, so it'll be a challenge. But USC has not looked great at times this year. They've been able to win their games. They're 5-0, but a little inconsistent. Look at the Oregon State game. Even the first half last week against Arizona State. At times, they look like a top 5 team. So which USC team will show up? And that's the story with college football. Once you get this far into the season, which team is going to show up? Most teams have had a performance where they look great and another performance where they look pretty bad. And if you can go out and still win those games when you don't play very well, like USC did against Oregon State, that's how you can go on to have a great season. Will they play great in this game? If they do, they should win. If they don't, I don't know. Washington State's a good football team. I think Washington State's a little better than Oregon State. So this one will be a fun one and potentially an upset. So USC had better watch out. How about Texas, Oklahoma? This one's at noon Eastern time on ABC. Texas favored by 7. I like Texas here. I think anyone that's been following this season would pick Texas in this game. Texas had a big win last week. Quinn Ewers potentially coming back, and they've just played good football. Played Alabama tough. We've seen all that. And Oklahoma has looked terrible the last couple of weeks. Dylan Gabriel, I don't think, maybe he may not even play in this game. So yeah, everything points towards Texas, but it still makes the video for one reason, and that's the fact that it's a rivalry game. And we've seen in this rivalry many times the underdog wins. No matter what these teams look like coming into the season, it's a brand new game. Anything can happen. And so that's why I think Texas, they've still got to bring their A game. This will be a fired up Oklahoma team looking to bounce back after those 2 losses. And more than likely, this game will turn out to be close. It just will, because it usually does. All right, Arkansas, Mississippi State. This one's at noon Eastern time on the SEC Network. Mississippi State favored by 9. I get that. This is a good team. Mississippi State's a good football team. We've talked about that all the way back to the preseason. Knew that they would be good this year, but they're coming off of a big win. Arkansas is coming off of 2 losses in a row. They're going to be really hungry in this one. Playing on the road, though, it's going to be tough. KJ Jefferson, I believe, is going to play. He had a little bit of an injury last week. If he doesn't play, I don't really give Arkansas much of a chance, but if he's in there and he plays, then again, it's a tough matchup. Arkansas secondary against this passing attack for Mississippi State. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't even have put this in the video. Again, I do like Mississippi State, but like I mentioned earlier, it was tough to even come up with 8 games. It was tough. It was tough to come up with 8 games this week. I think you might see a couple at the 2 last games we go through maybe have a chance to be an upset, but again, I don't really see this one happening. But Mississippi State's going to have to play their A game. They can't just show up and beat a team like Arkansas. So we'll see what happens in that game. Oregon, Arizona, back to the Pac-12. This one is at 9 o'clock Eastern time on the Pac-12 network. Oregon's favored by 13. Oregon has been a little inconsistent this year, but they seem like they finally kind of have it together. But I tell you what, this Arizona team is much improved from last year. It's a quality team. They're playing at home. This is just, to me, a perfect recipe for an upset. But I just don't know if Arizona is good enough to, or I think Oregon might be a little too good. Bo Nix, how does he play on the road against Washington State? A little shaky early, but again, came back late in that game and brought them back. So this is going to be a fun one. I think it'll be close. I think Oregon has got to be careful, though. They are on upset alert, in my opinion. Moving on to Texas Tech at Oklahoma State at 3:30 Eastern Time. Oklahoma State's 4-0. Texas Tech 3-2. Cowboys favored by 9. It'll be on FS1. This is one of those where Oklahoma State's coming off a big win. Texas Tech's coming off a tough loss. This is a good Texas Tech team, though. Don't overlook them. If Oklahoma State gets a little too high after that win over Baylor, you never know. I would think that this one would be more likely if it was at Texas Tech. So that's why I think it's going to be tough. But the Big 12, I think, is wide open still. Anyone could beat anyone. And this is one that Oklahoma State has got to bring their A game as well. You can't just show up after a big win and expect to beat a team like Texas Tech. So this one, I think, will be a good one. How about TCU and Kansas? TCU favored by 7. This one will be on FS1 at noon Eastern Time. They're going to be fired up. Kansas is going to be fired up for this game. Game day. They're undefeated. They're ranked. TCU, I believe, is the better team, but all those other things do play an impact. I mean, they do make an impact in these games. TCU's coming off of a huge win over Oklahoma. Do they have a little bit of a letdown? Can they handle the environment? I know it's not the loudest stadium in the country, but they're going to be fired up. The fans, the team, Kansas, I think, is going to bring their A game in this one. TCU will have to bring their A game to win this game. I really believe that. I don't think Kansas. I know I kind of talked bad about them on my top 25 video about how I didn't think they were really contenders in the Big 12, but they are a good team. They have proven they're a quality team, and they're a team that can win this game. So TCU had better be very, very careful in this one. Again, a very fired up Kansas team looking to get another big win. And how about that? Kansas could be bowl eligible already. How crazy would that be? All right, Wisconsin and Northwestern. We're going back to this one again. Wisconsin, they were upset last week. This week, Northwestern, I know you see the record 1-4. But they beat Nebraska in the first game. They looked good in that game. They haven't really looked good since. But Wisconsin firing their head coach, what's their mindset going to be? They're not very good. Wisconsin's not a very good team. They might be the worst team in the Big Ten. This could be a battle of the two worst teams in the Big Ten, honestly. There are some other contenders there for sure, but this is just a game that I think could go either way. It'll be low scoring. I'm very surprised that the spread is 10. Would have thought this would be maybe like a 6 or 7 point spread. But yeah, Northwestern playing at home absolutely can pull off this upset. So this is one that I would say could for sure happen. Wisconsin, though, maybe they come out fired up after losing their coach and they come out and, no pressure and play great. It's hard to say what's going to happen, but definitely at least put them on upset alert. And then finally, Utah and UCLA. This one will be at 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox. Fox has a couple of great games coming up on Saturday with this game and then the primetime game. But for whatever reason, Michigan, Indiana made it onto the big. I don't really understand that one. But anyways, 3:30 Eastern Time. Utah favored by 4 on the road against a quality UCLA team. I believe Utah's the better team here, and I can see why they're favored. But playing on the road, watch out. UCLA, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's a great quarterback. We saw them beat a good Washington team at home last week. This is a toss-up for me, and it barely was even able to make it on here because the spread's only 4 points. So it wouldn't be that big of an upset, but UCLA playing at home, a chance to go 6-0. Watch out for them to potentially upset Utah and give Utah their second loss of the season at the halfway point. So those are my picks this week. Again, I think those last 2 or 3 have a real chance to be upsets. The other games, probably not, but who knows? Maybe one of them does turn out to be an upset. Maybe there's one I missed. Do you see an upset happening from somewhere else, from another game? Again, the spread has to be 4 points or more. Keep that in mind. But those are my picks. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.